All right, class, first off, as always, good day. Glad you're here. So, today we're going to be talking about the first five amendments to the Constitution, which are the first five in the Bill of Rights. All right. Now, again, I made this short because, again, of class time during the class lesson. Now, I could have made all 10, but the thing is, I want to take time to explain each amendment to you, what it means, ways it could be interpreted, things like that. So that's why I'm keeping them short, these videos short, and that way we can go more in depth on each one as opposed to trying to just pump them out, get them done. Again, this is, I feel, the most crucial class, the most crucial part in your high school career to know, because the thing is, your rights don't just stop or begin when you're 18. No, they are your rights for as long as you're a citizen of this country, and you should know your rights. You shouldn't wait or rely on somebody to step in and say, "Oh no, that cops or the government can or cannot do this." And I don't want to be duped by other people as well. People who claim that they know, but I mean, really honestly don't know. They think they know, they heard something, and because a person looked like they knew, they talk about that kind of stuff. But if you give them a situation, give them a scenario, they're like, I don't know, because, or they'll like, I'll just look it up, you know. Whereas a person who's actually studied, somebody who's actually, I mean, deeply loves government and the law, they can give you an answer. Again, that's why like cops, they're pretty good with that kind of stuff. You they know the law. Okay, so let's begin. Here's your warm-up picture. Um, so on the Google form, it should say on there, um, what are three things that you see. So there you go. Um, Second question, what do you think this artist is trying to say about the Democrats or Republicans? So hopefully you should know already which animal represents which party. All right, let me move this up a little bit so you can see the whole picture of this. All right, so the Constitution has 27 amendments, right? The first 10 are the Bill of Rights. So let's jump right in. First Amendment says Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. All right, right off the back, there's like five different rights right there: religion, speech, um, press, peaceful assembly, and right to grievance, right? Petition and grievance. Now, you would think right off the back, these first one would be the most important one, and that's the thing. The framers of the Constitution basically felt, yeah, this is the most important stuff right here, you know. Um, but the thing is, you and I, you know, we do not have total freedom of speech. There are things that we say that can get us in trouble. And trust me, I've heard in my lifetime, not just from people when my age, but people who are older than me and younger than me, say throughout my lifetime, saying stuff like, "It's a free country, I can say what I want." No, you can't. All right. A great example is, I believe it's called Schneck versus United States. Um, And basically, the court said speech that creates a clear and present danger is not protected under the First Amendment. So, in other words, you cannot um, go through a hospital or, let's say, a theater and start shouting out fire, 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 and causing a panic, and then um, there's not a fire. You know, if you, let's say, were to call in a bomb threat, things like that, you can be punished, or even if you were saying it's like at somewhere like a school or something, and you can get charged. Not in the And that's the thing too. People, are, oh, I'm under 18, they can't do nothing. No, they can. They can, because at that time you should. You're not 2 years old. You're not 4 years old, 6 years old. You should know what's right and wrong. So you can't hide behind that, and it doesn't go on your record. Okay. Um, Another thing that's sad to say that it's protected under the First Amendment is hate speech. When people post things online, and they're calling people stuff, saying that they're not equal to other people, things like that, or these people are superior than these other type of people. Sadly, that is protected, by the First Amendment. Um, do I agree with it? Heck no. No, I don't. Not at all. Um, but there's other speech that's not protected on that First Amendment, like slander. You know, there were some issues. If you can look it up too. There's been some issues where people put on Yelp, or these other review sites, and disgruntled employees will sometimes write stuff like, "Oh, there's dead rats in the kitchen," things like that, and or say something bad about the company, and the company has actually sued them, saying, that's not true. You know, um, that's called slander. You're trying to smear the name of a company or a person, by saying that, by making claims, saying that something's fact when it's not. Whereas if you said this food sucks, well, that's an opinion. But if you make a claim like, I've seen dead animals in the kitchen, things like that, you know, that's a claim, and that's how you can get in trouble. But if it's your opinion, saying like which hamburger's better, McDonald's or Wendy's or Jack in the Box or whatever, that's an opinion. Okay, there is a difference. Okay, um, true threats, fighting words, these you can't get in trouble for. Especially like true threats. Now, that's like somebody saying something, specific online. I'm going to shoot somebody with this and that, and the cops and all them see this, and the person really does have the equipment they say they have. Um, if they say that they're going to attack them on a certain day, if that person has a public address thing, they're doing some a speech or whatever, um, and that's on that day, that could be taken as a true threat. All right. Copyright. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this too on when you watch a movie. It says like the FBI warning, and you ever think to yourself, what are they gonna do? Like that? Have they ever caught somebody? Yeah, yeah, they have. hmm You know, towns have been sued because they showed movies without the permission from the companies, you know, the studio companies, things like that. Yeah, it's happened. Okay. Um, but again, guys, there's so much to this, and I mean, I could spend like honestly 3 days teaching this stuff just on this alone. Because again, like religion, it's first off the back, and you hear people say in this country, "This is a Christian country." No, no, we are not. We the majority of people might be Christian or Catholic, but we are not a country of one religion. We're a country of multiple religion. And if anyone ever says, we're a Christian country, look at the First Amendment. The first sentence, for crying out loud. What do you think what this country was founded on, basically? Right there, freedom of religion. Just because they don't agree with that religion doesn't mean that it's wrong or it shouldn't be here in this country. It's freedom of religion. That makes this country so great. You know. All right, now on to the one I believe to be the most controversial amendment we have. Okay, Second Amendment. This is exactly what it says in the Constitution. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, guys, I'll tell you straight out right now. Um, I'm not a gun hating person, but I'm not a gun nut loving, like, with 40,000 guns and that. I'm not, I do fire gun. I enjoy going to the range with my friends and stuff like that. But I am not one of those people who I gotta have all these different types of guns. It's not, no, I don't see the purpose, you know. And when I hear people use this saying, we have the right to bear arms, number one thing I tell them, well, tell me the whole amendment. And they always give me that second part, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Okay, they might even put that shall not be infringed. Cool. What about the first half? They don't know it. A lot of them do not know it. You know, um, there are some who do, but then they'll, we don't have to have a militia anymore. Yeah, I know, I know. So I can understand you using having a one or two guns for home protection, things like that. Why do you need 50 freaking guns for? You know, you only have like one, clip for each gun. Is that it? You know, it just if you're doing a collector, you're doing a history stuff, you're collecting histories of guns throughout the, time. I can understand that. That's a collector. That's like, a hobby. But to have a Gatling gun for crying out loud and a minigun, there is no point to that, you know. Um, so thing is, this is where the fighting comes in. The people who are gun nuts love this second half of it. The people who are anti-gun will like to like to remind that first group about the first half, you know. Um, and the thing is, let's say people from Texas, where gun laws are basically down to a minimum. Um, when you go to a different state, you got to know the gun laws. So, over there it's a open carrying case. As long as you have your holster, you have the, it secure, things like that, you're good. I mean, you can't have it in your hand just, doing this stuff. But if you have it in your holster and things like that, then it's okay. But if you come to a state like here, California, you can't just openly carry your gun out in the open. You know, um, different states have different laws, different regulations on the guns, even to the size of the clips in guns. All right, so and you can't use that. Oh, I'm from Texas. Or I'm from this place. I'm from beautiful, but you're now here. Our laws are different. You know, so take that into consideration if you ever go to another state, things like that. And if you see, and that's also for you too. Let me move this a little bit so the blinding light isn't. The blinding light's not in your guys' thing. Um, but yeah, also same thing too. If you're in another state, don't be going around saying like, "Oh my God, why does everyone have guns for and it's not out in the open?" Because again, different states, different customs, different regulations. Um, so be uh, be aware of that if you ever travel and stuff like that. Okay. Like I said, guys, this is one of the most controversial things, and will we ever get to a happy medium? I strongly doubt it's one of those things that people feel so passionate about. You know, um, I wish they felt more about that passion for every single one of these amendments. But some people don't. You know, Third Amendment. I kid you not. If you were to ask, any adult person past the age of 25, what's the Third Amendment? I'm going to say at least half could not tell you what the Third Amendment was. The Third Amendment is basically forgotten because it no longer applies really to us anymore. But it's important to know still. It says, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Basically, during peacetime, a soldier cannot just stay in your home. If a soldier says, you know, hey, can I stay here, you know, this and that, you can say no. You have that right. You know, you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm being unpatriotic if I don't. No, it's your home, and this is a stranger. You know, you know, you so depends on you. You know, but the thing is, they have to have your consent. Now, in time of war, let's say there is a war going on, and the military says, hey, we need you to house some soldiers. You know, let them stay in your place. There has to be a law saying so. Right, and again, through the laws, as you guys know from the previous classes, it has to go through Congress, it has to go through the House of Representatives and the Senate. So that means it would have to be the will of the people. And if the will of the people say yes, and then that means it's okay. You know, a vast majority of the country believes in this. So with that being said, has to be a law saying you have to allow some soldiers, one soldier, two soldiers, whoever the law says. You know. So that's the Third Amendment. Again, this was a big thing back in like the 17th century, 16th, 15th, and all of them. Um, Nowadays, you don't really hear about soldiers staying in a person's home. You really don't. All right, so that's better now that I turned close the blinds a little bit. So here's your midpoint question: where do you draw the line on freedom of speech? You know, should we have absolute? Should we have minimum? Where do you put that line at? Um, Another little follow through. What should be illegal to be said, text, or stated online? When I mean stated online, through various forms of communication, social media, blogs, chat rooms, virtual meetings, things like that. Um, where do you draw the line? Okay. The second question is this, you know, because freedom of the press is one of the biggest things that is important in our country. But in our country as well, the press doesn't necessarily have to give the names of people who did things in our country, you know, or who have something to say. They could protect them because sometimes when people say things to get public awareness about an issue, sometimes those people are fired from their jobs. You know, because like, oh, why'd you tell everyone about this? You know, you're fired. You know, but really they were being a whistleblower. They were trying to help the public be aware of a situation that's happening at that company, whether it's stuff you're buying, how it's stuff you're buying that's made, if there's something wrong with it, you know, treatment of workers, things like that. But there are some people who, you know, see this as, well, if you don't tell us who said it, then they probably made it up, you know, and that's where the whole like kind of like fake news thing comes from, you know. Why'd you tell us their names? Well, again, sometimes those people are, you know, scorned at. They're not just by the companies, also by sometimes their friends and other people, you know. And nowadays with social media, it's so easy to find somebody once you know their name and where they're from, things like that. It's pretty easy. So my question to you is this: should the press be able to write anything they want? You know, but the thing is, a lot of journalists, they need a source. A lot of editors won't just let them, you know, um, do whatever. You know, it's that maybe like the tabloids, but then tabloids again, they're some of them are so ridiculous. But when it comes to legitimate newspapers, you know, Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, things like that, but they need a source. A lot of these places tell them at least get one or two sources. The more sources, the better. You know, um, like one of the famous uh, pieces of writing actually happened during the Watergate scandal, where the secret source guy, um, he was actually a high member of the FBI. and he was helping these writers from the Washington Post um, know what happened. That how Nixon covered up a scandal in the White House. You know, so they didn't put his name out there because he could have easily been fired. But he felt it was important for the people to know that yes, the president crossed the line. You know, the president is not this wholesome guy like he's saying he is. He covered up a crime that his people committed, and basically carried out what he wanted because, again, he was paranoid at that time about losing to the Democrats. And the second thing to this question is, do you think a famous blogger or YouTuber should be seriously taken as a member of the press? Okay, because I put this down because, like, my nephew, he watches some YouTuber guy I never heard of, and the thing is, this kid is saying stuff that legitimately makes no sense. Like last year about the flat Earth thing, and this kid tried to say that it was flat, and he tried to say all these different things he heard, and it's like, no, no. And I'm looking at my nephew like, why are you even listening to this fool? Oh, because he's popular. Oh, he's popular is one thing, but to actually know what you're talking about is another. You know, so that really upset me, and that got me like, how many people are following this kid? And it's like in the millions. So I'm like, no. So my question to you is this: do you think that these people should be considered part of the press? You know, they got so many people's ears, and eyes watching them. Should they be accountable for what they said too? So the Fourth Amendment. This one is huge, guys. Um, Sorry about that. Kind of hit my knee on the desk. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, house, papers, and effects against the unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly described the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. That's what it says in the Constitution. What it means is simply this: even though it's small, it has quite a punch. The authorities need a search warrant if they're going to basically take anything from your home, anything physical, um, papers, documents, your computer, laptop, stuff like that. The warrant also says what they're looking for and where they can look. Now, here's the thing: just because it says they're going to check the living room and the bedroom, things like that. Let's say somebody hides something in the walls, and the cops start busting through the walls. And so I said, well, you said you were just going to search the living room. Well, the thing is, they actually do have a right to check, because again, that section between the wall, that could still be considered part of the living room, you know. Um, and then there's also ways to get around a warrant, you know. And this is something, like I said, in my years of talking to students, and they brought up scenarios, brought up things that, truly happen. And it's like, no. And I'm gonna give you a good one coming up pretty soon, actually. A warrant is always needed. There's several ways around. One, if a cop basically asks the person, the resident, the homeowner, can I look through this house? And can I come in? Can I do a search? And that person says yes, that's it. They don't need a warrant. Okay. Now, a lot of times these cops are very, very, very smart, and they don't say specifically, can I search the living room? Can I search, the bedroom? They'll say, can I search the house? That's everything in the house. Everything. Okay. Then they got their permission. It's a verbal permission, but still it's a permission. Um, Another way around it, search and conduct in connection with an arrest. Now, this is the one I told you that really happened. Um, a former student some years ago told me that the cops busted into their aunt's house because the cops were chasing their nephew, and they arrested him right there, and then they started searching his room because that's where he was heading towards, you know, or heading towards, or like he was right there, you know. But the thing is, they're like, they needed a warrant to go in there, huh? I'm like, no, 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 because the thing is, they were making an arrest, and they made the chase, and they still had the visual of him going into the house, you know, uh, and then they got him, you know. So they don't need a search warrant. They could still bust through the house, you know, to make the arrest. Um, and also too, where in the house the pathway, like let's say, like I said, they he went to his room, so they could check his room, you know, because they could easily say he was trying to throw something in there, or if the rooms were open in the house, they can search through the house to see if, let's say he was stealing something, had something in his hand, and when they arrested him, he did it. They have the right to also now to search through, you know, seeing, hey, he stashed this somewhere here, you know. So they do have that right. Okay, with that. Another one, emergency exceptions. So let's say somebody, let's say, has a bomb, you know, in a house. They don't need a warrant because it, again, the safety of the community, you know, how big it is, things like that, the radiate the not radiation, the radius of the explosion, who knows how big it is. So for the safety of the people in the community, um, they don't really need a warrant. The last one, plain simple, public view domain. So if they throw something right in your yard, they don't need a warrant. If everyone can see it's right there, then they can get it. Okay, don't come. You can't come to my house and take that. Um, it's public view and domain. It's right there. You know, they stole something, or they had a stash of drugs and they tossed it out there and it's right there. Yeah, we don't need a warrant for that. It's right there. You know. So there's that. Now there's this is where the thing of privacy come in. Even though it doesn't specifically say privacy, it's still taken as a Fourth Amendment right. But it wasn't always this way. The Olmstead versus United States in 1928 basically said that warrants are not necessary for phone taps. Okay, because again, the Fourth Amendment said not taking any papers and effects, you know, and you need a warrant for that. But back in the day, they were like, well, phone taps, you're not really taking anything, you're just listening in. And in fact, the wires, you know, that they tapped weren't even on the property, the person's property. Actually, they might have been on public property or government property, you know. So the court said basically, you know, yeah, yeah, they nothing wrong with that. The government can do that. No warrant necessary. But when the Katz case came in 1967, um, basically the court said, yeah, you know, they do need um, warrants because that's an invasion of privacy. What's said between two people, unless it's out in the open, you know, which some people are dumb enough to do, um, because again, anyone can hear, you know. And this is another thing too, where I tell students, when students say, "Oh, why are you invading our privacy for?" You're in the middle of public and things like that, and your voice carries. It's not like you're actually trying to hide what you're saying. So, where's the privacy from? Everyone already knows what you're saying. You can ask anybody around because your voice is so loud, you're speaking so loud. It's not really you're conversing softly, so no one can hear. You know. So that's where the privacy thing comes in. Um, the Patriot Act. This was a big one back in 2002. The basically the FBI could conduct physical searches or wiretaps, which they mainly favored wiretaps, on citizens without probable cause, but that was later changed to they need a significant purpose. Now, this was created because of what happened on September 11th, 2001, and the government basically said we need uh, to know what terrorists are doing, what they're in our country, citizens to hear if they're, conducting stuff with citizens, that they can't hide behind that. So what happened is basically like this, that they had a suspect, and that suspect, let's say, talks to 20 people. The government could then look at the phone conversations, the text communications, emails, things like that, and then those 20 people that one person talked to, they're going to check them. And let's say each one of them talks to another 20 people. Well, let's say they start talking about some stuff that's kind of controversial. Like say half of them, then this half, the one that is talking about stuff, those 20 other 20 people are going to be checked on, and it just spreads from there to there. I mean, it's like kind of like a virus. It just spreads, and it gave them authority, the government authority, to listen to people's phone conversations, text messages, things like that. And it wasn't until I want to say 2010, some of that, where Edward Snowden blew the whistle on that. All right, the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crimes unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service is time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for the public use without just compensation. Okay, that's a lot. In a nutshell, it basically says that if you're going to go to trial for a big crime, a grand jury basically has to indict you. A grand jury is people who hear, the case in a nutshell, and they decide if there's enough to charge this person for a trial to be. Okay. Um, the other big one here is double jeopardy. Now, it, what that means is this. Let's say on January 1st, 2020, you um, robbed a grocery store. Let's just say you robbed the grocery store, and you know you robbed the grocery store, and you robbed somebody else. You know, you get caught, you have a trial, they charge you with robbery, right? For both the grocery store and, let's say, somebody else, and at the grocery store. Um, let's say you get out, okay? You did your time, you get out. You cannot be arrested again for like one of the either grocery store person or the person you would robbed. They can't go back and say they robbed me. Well, when? Back in January 1st, 2001. They already paid for that crime. You can't go back. Well, I didn't put the file the charges. The grocery place did. Okay, but still in court, they were charged with that. They were charged for it, for your crime as well. Even though you might not have wanted the charges, they were still charged for that. You know, so that's the thing. Also, this was the stipulation of uh, the time limit. There is time limit, except for murder. Murder, there's no time limit when the cops can arrest you for stuff. Um, but small things, little misdemeanors, things like that, there is a time limit. Okay. Let's see another one. Let's see, where is it? Oh, you can't be a witness against yourself. Now, this is where the Amanda rights come in. Um, when the cops arrested people, basically before this time, they would just arrest them, question them, and basically you either knew your rights or you didn't. You know, and one of these things is being a witness against yourself. So using your own words against you. That's why they always say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You know, because whatever you say can be used. Um, but that's where the Miranda case comes in. Police must read you your rights prior to being questioned. Okay, um, they have to tell you your rights. So if they don't tell you your rights and they question you, they throw you in jail, things like that, and they still haven't read you your rights. Um, they haven't told you you have a right to attorney, things like that. You could then use your phone call to call a lawyer and basically tell them, hey, they haven't read me my rights. Um, the thing is, they have to read you your rights and you have to acknowledge that you understand it. Now, here's another kicker where some people try to say, well, I'll just deny. They ask you at the end, do you understand? I won't say anything. I'll just keep saying no, no. They can't get me on that then. Yeah, they can because I believe it's 5 times that they go over it. They use different languages, things like that. And let's say you don't know any other language, you just know English, and they keep saying it and saying it. They break it down for you even then, um, and you keep failing to acknowledge it. After a certain amount of time, they can say, "Well, we said it in every which way. This person's not a complete, you know, um, idiot. That they don't know the simplest form of you say something, they can use it against you in court for this the bad thing you did. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so you just can't keep denying and denying and denying because they can get you, you know, on that. Um, so you can't um, they can't use stuff against you unless you have an attorney, you've been read your rights, and if you been read your rights and you acknowledge you know them, and you still say stuff, they can use that against you. Um, but if they haven't read you your rights, um, and you say stuff, and they still haven't read you your rights, that is inadmissible. Now, another myth that a lot of people tend to believe is that if they don't read your rights and they put you in jail, that you get out of jail like that. No, you can still go to court. You can still go to court. And thing is, a lot of times the district attorneys, they don't want to go to court, especially if the cops haven't read you your rights, because it's like that's a waste of time. Basically, anything that the cops got on you that was said, things like that, um, gets thrown out the window and they can't use it. So if a person basically confessed without being read their rights, you know, that's it. You know, so there's that. Oh, and if the government uses your property to, let's say, they make the roads wider, so they take out part of your front yard, you get compensated for that. Okay. Now, the last question is this: of the 5 amendments we went over so far, which one do you think is the most important and why? Now, I didn't give you a writing prompt, just like the other two, because I want to see you guys write your own sentences. All right. Now, the last question is something I truly believe. Again, I've had so many students in the past tell me, oh my God, the government is doing this, the government is doing that. And then they're hearing all these people saying things, the conspiracy theories, such and such stuff they heard their uncle or whatever say. But my question to you is this: do you personally believe the government are listening to and monitoring your phone calls, emails, text messages, social media posts, any type of communication? Do you think that they're monitoring you or listening in on you? And why do you believe that? Okay. So that's it. That's the end of this lesson. Hopefully, you learned something new. Hopefully, this cleared up some stuff for you. If you have any questions, you guys have my email. Email me, message me. You know, um, if there's anything that like gets you like, well, what about this? What about this? Because these are the type of things I love going over with you. And basically, like, I trust me, I've had students. We talked for at least like 20 minutes about different scenarios, different cases, stuff like that, um, that they've seen, they've gone through, or they've heard from their family members, things like that. And we've gone over some stuff, So I've heard quite a bit, and basically sometimes I'm like, the majority of the times like, yeah, there's nothing you can do because under this, they did the right procedure of this stuff. But there has been like one of them where it's like, oh no, they shouldn't be able to have done that, you know. Um, so there was that one time I was like, oh, you know. So hopefully you guys learned something new. But again, next class we're gonna be doing the other five, maybe even more. We'll see. It should actually get to like maybe 12, um, but we'll see. All right. So you guys have a good day. You take care. And you be safe. All right.